Hello, fellow Econauts, and welcome back to our show. I'm here with my brother Ben, the Rocketman. Hey, Ben, how are you?
Hey Simon, hey fellow Econauts, how's it going? Today we're looking back. How was 2024?
Well, in 2024, we talked a lot about space history. Do you remember some of the episodes?
Yes, from the top of my head, we talked about Sputnik, we talked about the first man on the moon, we talked about the ISS. I think we had a lot of good content in terms of what humanity already achieved in space.
I also believe that space history is one of the very important pieces that we did to really showcase how long humans have, followed that dream to get into space. And I think that we had like a lot of interesting topics, some, more fun than others. I think that the first man on the moon was definitely interesting, but also Challenger, which also showed how dangerous it is actually to send people into space, right?
Absolutely, yes. Also, it shows what humankind can achieve if we put enough effort and enough budget behind certain missions. And that is also a good reason to review and look back and learn from past achievements to redo what we are doing, what humanity tries to do again. Speaking of Artemis, of course.
Talking about achievements, I think that is a very good, way to get to the next subject because you have been invited to a TED Talk, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe we can talk about this a little bit.
Yes, I mean, my TED Talk officially was 2023, but the release on YouTube was this year in 2024. And yeah, I talked about the project I'm doing, building a spaceport in Western Australia. And I had the opportunity to talk about this on the TEDx platform, TEDx Kings Park. And yeah, that was a great experience. It was something like I've never done before. So the whole, how you get prepared for it and how you sort of learn the mimic and gestures and so on to be on stage. That was very interesting.
Changing the topic to Mars, from TED to Mars. We also talked a lot about Mars this year. Maybe we can look into some of the episodes that we did.
Yes, absolutely. We talked about how to colonize, what are the challenges to live on Mars, what are the challenges to live in space in the first place, what kind of infrastructure and space infrastructure needs to be built up to have a maintenance or sustainable presence on Mars, and also what are the outcomes. How could the future look like? Maybe in 100 years, the Mars is colonized already. How could society look like on Mars? We talked about many aspects in this regard.
And the other thing that I thought was really interesting was also the psychological impact that it might have to live on a colony on Mars. I think that was also a very interesting topic for our show.
Yes, I think Mars in itself is a very bountiful topic because there are so many aspects we can talk about. And also, it is important because it's a very strong driver for our current space economy, and especially for Elon Musk and SpaceX to actually drive the technology to get there. And there's many things we still have to develop.
Speaking of SpaceX, we have talked about SpaceX this year quite a lot because they have done a lot of things to push really the agenda forward. I do not know how many launches they successfully did this year, but it was quite a lot. And we talked about them in the beginning of the year and also had planned to talk about them in the at the end of the year, but for circumstances that we mentioned in the previous episode was unfortunately not possible. But maybe that's a good idea to talk about that today in our review.
Yes, so SpaceX had a record year in 2024. They launched about 131 orbital missions, which is even more than 2023. That represents more than half of all global orbital launches last or this year. They also had four Starship test flights, suborbital test flights. The last one was with the chopstick maneuver, where Starship was actually caught by the tower and therefore proved that you can reuse Starship. And then going forward from here, that obviously is important because Starship is important for Artemis. Starship is important for Mars missions. Starship is just the next big thing in the space economy. Falcon 9 also had a big achievement. With Falcon 9, they had 24 flights by the beginning of December. I don't know if that, from the top of my head, if that ship flew again this year, but 24 flights with one single Falcon 9. That means, in the eyes of economy, reusing a rocket 24 times is a huge thing. And yeah, this one has obviously done a lot of work. Big horse for the stable. Also, Starlink, very important, has grown to about 6,800 satellites now, and 350 satellites are capable to directly connect to smartphones. And that is also a big achievement, that we have now the first satellite to cell phone constellation in orbit.
And that brings me to the next part of our show, looking into the future. We have looked into the past. Let's see what kind of predictions my brother has for the future.
Well, I already alluded a little bit on SpaceX. So next year, I believe SpaceX will again outperform their launches per year, and therefore continue to dominate the space economy in terms of launch vehicles and launches. Starship will, I think next year Starship will show that you can refuel it in orbit, which will be the biggest achievement for the Starship program, because it pretty much, when you can, if you can refuel Starship in orbit, that pretty much extends your radius where you can operate with that spacecraft by 90% compared to other bigger heavy launch vehicles. I also believe that Starlink will continue to grow further. I believe there will be more and more interest now also in launch sites. I think people start to wake up in the space economy that we require more places from where you can actually launch your launch vehicles. I also think that Artemis will rejuvenate a little bit now with the Trump administration and Elon Musk pushing a bit further. So therefore, I think Artemis 2 will be on the horizon. And therefore also going forward, maybe the year after, Artemis 3, where Starship is obviously a very important puzzle piece. I also think that the space economy, in terms of the space agencies, will continue to get more investment and also do more research. What exactly this is, I don't know yet. But what I can say, and I think this is very evident by, for example, the Euro Clipper and also the recent findings from the Mars rover, there's more and more evidence that there might have been life in the past. Maybe there's also still simple life in our solar system on other celestial bodies than Earth. Another thing which I think is very interesting, and also is something that has been investigated for many decades now, and now Japan is looking further into this, is to harvest helium-3 from the lunar surface. So I think there will be more and more information and more aspirations to find out how this can be done on an economic scale. What is needed for that definitely is a highway to space, meaning not only to space, also a highway in space, meaning just infrastructure that makes it more and more affordable and more sustainable to send something off Earth and to bring back to Earth. Initially between Moon and Earth, I believe.
Yeah, and then the next step, like we said in many episodes before, as soon as we have established a base on the moon, it will be much easier to go from the moon to Mars, skipping the step, launching something from the Earth, then refueling it in space, and then sending it to Mars. If we have like the moon as in between kind of base, makes a lot of things much easier in my opinion.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, refueling in orbit is a big step, and that if you want to expand the extra cost to do the refueling, is definitely a solution. But if or as soon as we can launch from lunar surface, so that means we have to find water there, we have to refine the water there, and so on. Then we can launch from the moon. Just to make sure, obviously, hydrogen and oxygen from the moon will not be used for Starship because Starship is flying with methane. So therefore, it wouldn't change how Starship works, but it would enable other larger spacecrafts to launch from the lunar surface.
And what I think it's very interesting is it's the spirit that we can feel, like you already mentioned. I believe so too that we will see a lot more movement in the near future in space, not only when it comes to scientific achievements, but also economic achievements and exploration and such. Which brings me to the last part of this episode, the future of the Econauts. So, what do you think can we achieve next year?
Well, we as you know, we both have lots of ideas of maybe some spin-offs. We have lots of topics for next year. Obviously, we are still following what's going on and will provide you the most up-to-date information as well when new things are on the horizon, literally. So I think the on that point we have enough material to provide more content for you, Econauts. And then, yeah, as I said, maybe there's a couple of things we want to try. We want to try also, but maybe you can say more to this. We want to try maybe to reorganize or reshape how we build an episode and so on.
There have been quite a bit of interesting developments behind the scenes as well that I don't want to reveal right now, but I'm interested to see how it will turn out in the next year. And some connections that we made that are definitely very interesting, and I'm very excited to see how they will go and how the channel will grow. I'm very happy about the feedback that we have received, not only in the comments but also in direct messages. Not everybody feels comfortable um, posting a
Of course.
comment, which is fair enough. Some people like to be a little bit more behind the scenes. Everybody who did comment, thank you very much. It helps us a lot to please the YouTube algorithm, like other YouTubers always like to say,
The algorithm gods.
the algorithm gods, and it helps to show other people and also YouTube itself that this is actually a channel that people are interested in. So your support is invaluable, and it's one of the reasons we like to do the show as well, because even if it's a lot of fun talking to my brother, it is of course also nice to see that other people like to hear what we have to say.
Yeah, I can only chime in and do this and agree fully. Obviously, we are not doing this just to do something and put a video out. Of course, we want to reach people with this. We want to inform people about this, and with your help, we can also, build this in a way that it's even more engaging and more infotainment for you.
While you are the expert, I always try to be the one who's asking the stupid questions because I think it is important that other people feel comfortable asking questions, right? And if I can fit that role for other people, and I had like I said before, I got direct messages from people who were like happy that I was asking a stupid question during the show, and that shows me that people are interested, and I gladly play that role if it helps to get more people interested in space, because that's something that we always say. Space, it's not only for the scientists, the space economy that it's also surrounding that. It's interesting for Alec, the regular Joe, right? And that's what this show is actually about, right? Getting more people interested in space and the space economy.
I think that's a very good point you made there. Um, for me, I realized that often space conferences and when things are going on in space, often people are talking to other people that already are aware of what's going on. So it's pretty much an echo chamber where ideas are just sort of getting reflected, and therefore the that invaluable feedback from outsiders, investors, for example, and also the understanding sort of going out to these people, that is what the space economy has to focus on, to to grow further, to make it more obvious why we need space, why, or not even that, why we cannot afford to wait doing all the exploration. I think there's many important steps we have to take, and it's not just for the sake of doing something and just not for the sake of exploring. I think there are very valuable, also commercial and economical impacts that we can gain when we do more space exploration.
I think so too. I think that a lot of problems that we have on Earth can be solved by looking into space. Um, and I'm like I said before, I very much like that more and more people are interested in that, and also non-scientific people interested in space. And if our show can help to reach, basically close the gap a little bit, then we have done our job, I would say, you know.
Yes.
And that's basically the end of this episode, and also the end of the Econauts in 2024. We are very much looking forward to 2025, and I hope that you will, continue watching. And if you like this episode, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already.
And don't forget to review this little notification bell so you don't miss out on any new episode. Also, and as you can guess, we did the review now. We have lots of episodes already in our playlist. Please watch them.
And I hope I will see you next year. Have a good one. Bye bye.
See ya.